You know that frustrating feeling when someone asks you something that you know the answer to, but for whatever reason seem to be having a momentary brain fart, and the more you think about it, the more aggravated you get with yourself because it seems like it's literally sitting there right on the tip of your tongue, but yet, for some reason, can't seem to spit it out. And even after they tell you to forget about it and not a big deal, it still continues to drive you crazy and is the only thing that you can think about. And then finally, when you get that aha moment and it comes rolling off of your tongue, it gives you such a sensation of relief and feels like you've just overcome some kind of great victory. Well, this is due to the fact that humans do not like open loops, and it's within our instinctual drive to want to make sense of things that makes not only narcissist and narcissistic abuse so difficult to grasp because, well, nothing these people do makes sense, but it also leads to one coughing up to why they stay in these relationships for so long as you being weak, not having any self-respect, willpower, or due to codependence. But the truth of the matter is, not only do we in fact become addicted to toxic relationships, but toxic relationships are more addictive than any kind of substance or thing that one can become addicted to, which by understanding the reasons behind what causes this bring you more clarity and in turn eliminate some of these negative beliefs that you have about yourself that I can guarantee you is not the case of your being weak, having a lack of self-respect, willpower, or due to you being a codependent from some unresolved trauma. So if you're ready to actually have something that makes sense in regards to these nonsensical clowns, well then, here we go. Dopamine, often referred to as the pleasure hormone, gets released and received by our brain's reward center. That's primary function is to reinforce patterns of behavior. So whenever we do something that we perceive to be enjoyable, comes from dopamine getting released to cue our brain as a reminder of, hey, I liked that, I should probably do that again. And thus creates a feedback loop that can ingrain a habit to want to chase this fix, and what causes people to become addicted to the things that give them this jolt or sudden surge of dopamine, be that of drugs, gambling, sex, shopping, or even work. But the way that it works the most effective when it's released and received by our system on an unpredictable schedule, rather than that of a predictable or continuous cycle, as well as the levels of dopamine that get released each time it receives this cue, and actually doubles in the amount released and received when there's uncertainty, meaning that you actually get a greater reward and receive more dopamine when it's uncertain or unclear when you'll experience this thing that's going to bring about your next fix. With narcissists being so predictably unpredictable through the use of hot and cold treatments, how their emotional state changes faster than the wind shifts direction, going from Jekyll to Hyde in the blink of an eye for no apparent rhyme or reason, in turn creates and enhances a stronger addiction to dopamine. This unpredictable schedule also inhibits us from developing a tolerance, like in the instance with the drug addict. Because this tolerance never gets created with a narcissist, their breadcrumbs and little tidbit of being nice, or even just not actively trying to cut your throat with their words, are enough to satisfy our reward center and keep you coming back for more, because due to the unpredictable nature and uncertainty provides more hack to the punch. Oxytocin, which is often referred to as the love hormone. This gets released and received by our brain's reward center through physical touch, during sex, and right after childbirth, sending out a sensation that we too attribute to being as pleasure, but in higher amounts is what provides us a feeling of bonding or connection. During the love bombing phase, we become flooded with oxytocin from all of the affection and oftentimes having so much sex that it would make any rabbit seem like a prude, and due to the way that narcissists have a tendency not only seeming to fulfill what we as humans desire above all else, but are handing it to you on a silver platter, which is where this feeling of electricity or having this chemical connection and deep bond comes from, and perceive as you were meant to be, when in reality it's nothing more than your hormones creating an addictive feedback loop. And why, when they flip the switch and start using hot and cold treatments, sometimes showing you affection, sometimes cutting you off, rather than this inconsistency in their demeanor, how they display affection, become a turnoff, it actually causes you to crave their affection more and keeps you hooked. Not only is this more addictive, but it also makes it harder to break the addiction, being isolated and grooming you to put all of your focus and attention on them, because in their delusional world, they feel like they are the only thing in the universe that matters, and as such leads to your giving up hobbies you found enjoyable that would too trigger off these releases of dopamine, and eventually their tidbits and breadcrumbs being the only thing you get these sensations of pleasure from. That they demean your character, eliminate your self-esteem, deplete your self-confidence, sense of worth, distorting your perception of reality, in essence creates a learned helplessness, and you literally start feeling like you won't survive without them. That this trauma triggering about constant state of fight or flight and survival mode, bypassing the prefrontal cortex or rational and logical thinking part of your brain, is the reason that you can't logically and reasonably come up with a solution to get your way out of this. Because your amygdala can't be reasoned with logically. It is literally futile to try, because you in all actuality cannot. These people do not stop. They are relentless and ruthless, and until you cut them out completely, as this allows your brain to focus on something else aside from them as being a means to which provide you these euphoric sensations. Some of the easiest ways to go about doing this: writing exercises and reading. Simply the act of doing these activates the thinking part of your brain. Doing things to help reduce your anxiety and your stress levels that will in turn help break you out of this survival mode, and recognizing when you are getting triggered, and then in turn incorporating things to help reduce that anxiety before it gets to the point where you're once again triggered into this continuous stress loop, such as humming, yoga, reading, meditation, positive affirmations that can help boost your confidence and your self-esteem, reestablishing the relationships that you had that they cut you off of by isolating you, and reaching out and getting yourself involved with those who have endured narcissistic abuse is super beneficial, because it validates what you are going through and helps eliminate that feeling of not being understood, and prevent you from going right back into it and falling for their Hoover maneuvers, and educating yourself on what these people are capable of, the red flags to look out for. And by doing these things over time will allow you to break free from this addiction, get back your sanity, your life, and your freedom that these people had no right to ever take from you in the first place. You are worth and deserve so much more. So fight for you. Focus on you. Fuck the narcissist.